The night the old masquerade did not return was the night everything changed in our village. I was sitting outside my father's hut, listening to the drum beats echo through the air. The masquerade had gone into the forest at sunset, just like always, to bring blessings for the coming harvest. Everyone had danced and clapped as it disappeared into the trees, but now it was long past nightfall and the drums were quiet, too quiet. I stayed awake longer than I should have, staring into the darkness and listening for the sound of the drums or the footsteps of the returning masquerade. Nothing came. The silence of the night felt unnatural, almost as though something was swallowing the usual nighttime. By morning, the village was uneasy. The elders whispered among themselves, and the women fetching water at the stream avoided eye contact. The masquerade was scared. It never stayed away. It always came back before the moon was high. My uncle Dike, who was one of the masquerade skipper, was one of the first to speak up. The air shifted, he muttered to my father over the crackling of the morning fire. His face was drawn and his eyes moved towards the forest every few moments. It was like something was watching us from the shadows last night. My father did not respond. He just kept his eyes on the fire, but I saw the way his jaw tightened. By midday, the elders had decided what to do. A group of strongest men would enter the forest to search for the masquerade. It wasn't just about the blessings anymore. Losing the masquerade will mean losing the village's connection to the ancestors and the gods. It will mean losing everything. I wasn't supposed to follow, but I could not help myself. My cousin Chima and I slipped away from the hut and crept behind the search party, staying just out of sight. The forest felt different that day. The sunlight that usually pierced through the leaves seemed dimmer, and the air was thick with the smell of damp earth and something faintly sour. At first, it seemed like nothing was wrong. The path was clear and the leaves rustled like normal. The men called out. Their voices echoed through the trees, but there was no response. Then we found the staff. The masquerade staff lay in the dirt, broken in two. The carving that had once covered the surface was scattered. The men stopped their trace, staring in disbelief. Dicky bent down and picked it up, his hands shaking. "This is a bad sign," he said. His voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried in the heavy silence. We pressed on, though no one spoke anymore. Then we saw the mark on the trees. Long, deep scratches like claws, but too deliberate to be made by an animal. They crisscrossed like bark in straight patterns that seemed almost like writing, though none of us could understand them. The air changed as we moved deeper into the forest. It smelled strange like burnt palm oil mixed with something rotten. I covered my nose with my hand, but the stench seemed to cling to my skin. Then we heard it, a low humming sound like someone singing far away. Chima and I froze. The men ahead of us stopped too. Their heads turned towards the sound. It was faint at first, but it grew louder and louder, like it was closer to us. DK raised his machete and shouted, "Who's there?" No one answered, but the humming stopped. The silence that followed was worse than the sound. And then we saw it. A shadow moved through the trees, Not a person, not an animal, just a shape. It flared like smoke caught in the wind, then disappeared. The men ran. Chima and I did not need to be told twice. We sprinted all the way back to the village, our hearts pounding so loudly I thought they might burst. When we told the elders what we had seen, their faces darkened. They called for an emergency meeting, gathering everyone in the village square. The oldest of the oldest spoke first. "The spirits are angry," he said. "We must appease them or the village will suffer." The next day, they performed a ritual. They tied a goat to a post near the forest edge and poured palm wine into the earth. The air was thick with the smell of incense and the sound of the elders' chant. They asked for forgiveness, for protection, for the safe return of the masquerade. But things weren't the same after that. The harvest was poor that year. The yams were small and the cassava was bitter. The river dried up early, leaving cracked earth and dead fish in its wake. People started whispering about curses. Some said the masquerade had been taken by the forest spirit because someone broke a taboo. Others said the village had been too greedy, demanding too many blessings without giving enough in return. Chima and I did not speak about what we had seen in the forest, but I could tell he thought about it as much as I did. We would sit outside his hut at night, staring at the forest and listening to the silence. Sometimes I thought I could hear the humming sound again, faint and far away, but I told myself it was just my imagination. The Owu masquerade never returned. Over time, the villagers stopped talking about it as much, though the fear never really went away. No one dared to go into that part of the forest anymore. The path grew overgrown with weeds, and the marks on the trees faded, but no one forgot they were there. As for me, I don't know what happened that night, but I remember that shadow, and I will never forget how the air felt heavy, like it was pressing down my chest. Some nights, when the wind blew just right, I think I hear the drums again, but I do not dare go near the forest to find out.